First of all, welcome everyone to our first webinar of this exciting new series focused on Copilot M365, specifically what's new with Copilot for M365. Just to let you know, this meeting will be recorded and we'll post recording on our website. You can use chat in order to ask questions, comments, feedback. So we'll have plenty of people who is going to monitor our chat. And towards the end of the call, we'll have time for Q&A. And so you will be able to come off mute and ask questions. So let's start. We are thrilled to have you all here today as we kicking off these monthly calls. Those calls designed to keep you informed and empower on rapidly evolving Copilot space. From our experience working with different customers, we have noticed a common challenge, a common question that we always get asked, how to stay up to date with the constant stream of new features and update in Copilot. And so we decided to create this series to help our customers navigate in this environment of dynamically constant changes of Microsoft Copilot ecosystem. Throughout those sessions, we'll not only cover the latest update, but also try to answer some of the questions that you might have, and maybe take a deeper dive into practical strategies, how to get maximum value of Copilot within your organization. Additionally, we'll dedicate time in each session to answer the questions about Copilot. Will give you opportunity to provide your feedback. Hopefully it will be positive feedback, but we are here among the friends. So sometimes negative feedback is also positive feedback because we all can learn from our collective experience how to use Copilot and how we can navigate with all the different updates with Copilot and overall artificial intelligence. As I mentioned, the sessions will be recorded. We'll post recording on our website. And if you would need a copy of this presentation, please let us know and we'll be able to share this presentation with you as well. Today, our first session. We kind of still developing our style of communicating and delivering those Copilot updates. So bear with us. Just in the past few months, Microsoft released numerous updates for Copilot. Today, we will look at some of the features that have been released in June and July. We have only 45 minutes for this call, plus we want to have Q&A, so we're not going to cover every single Copilot update and change that has been actually pushed by Microsoft, but we're going to concentrate on what we think most impactful and some updates that particularly draw our attention because we, as Microsoft partner, we helping a lot of organizations to deploy and adopt Copilot. So we kind of develop our areas of interest and we'll try to share updates that related to those areas as well. So we're going to have two sections during our presentation. One section will be related to technical updates. Those updates will be particular of interest for our colleagues who are manage tenants, manage Copilot, manage M365 environments. And the second session will be dedicated to the changes and updates that will impact end users. So before we start, just quick reminder for some of you who are our current customers or for people who never heard about us. So we are Valorem Reply Modern Work team. We have Microsoft at our heart because we working closely with Microsoft on Microsoft platform. So we deliver in different type of solutions related to modern work. Everything starting from SharePoint, Viva, Power Platform, all sorts of cloud migration, and obviously the Copilot. We are certified Microsoft solution partner with specialization in business application, data, digital app innovation, infrastructure, modern work, and security. So I quickly introduce our team. We have on this call Kellen, who will be helping us with end user experience. She's from Chicago office. Join us from across the pond. Lee, who is our senior technical consultant, and also we have Caitlin, who some of you may recognize from previous Copilot adoption engagement. So she will be helping with end user experience as well. So without further ado, I'm gonna kick it off to Lee to start with the technical components.
Thank you very much, Alex. So yeah, we're going to talk through, as Alex mentioned, a whole host of updates for Microsoft 365 Copilot, which have been released over the last couple of months. So you will see some features here that are in the process of rolling out. So hopefully everything has landed in your tenant already and you'll be able to take advantage of what we're seeing today. However, if there is something that you're not seeing, it may just be part of that slower rollout across Microsoft 365 globally. So hang tight as that arrives in your particular tenant. So here you can see some of the admin and management capabilities that we're going to run through over the course of the next few minutes in this session. We've got a lot of updates related to the Viva suite of products and how leveraging the experiences within Viva can also help you with your Copilot for Microsoft 365 adoption, be that in terms of understanding the impact that the tool is having in the business, or indeed understanding how it's actually being used. We're now able to get some insights into that from a shallower level all the way down to a deep dive to be able to really hone in on that information. There are updates to other products here as well, such as SharePoint Advanced Management, which allow you to gain more control and understand how Copilot is being used in the business and also where it's getting its data from, which is a key question that a lot of people are often asking. The list of user capabilities is even longer this month. We've got a huge list of things here. Caitlin and Kellen will run through just some of these, but on the screen it's to highlight how many changes that there are available for the last month or so, hopefully within your tenants today. We'll be focusing a lot on the Microsoft 365 app experiences, things like PowerPoint and Excel, to really give your users the supercharged capabilities that they're looking for from the product, and we'll be able to run through those. But there's a whole host, some of which we'll not cover today, but you can see there on the screen what we are briefing. And if there's anything on there that jumps out, feel free at the end of the session to speak up if there's anything we can shed some more light on. So as I say, I will deep dive now into the admin side of things. So this is largely behind the scenes changes in configuration, things that tenant admins and tenant owners are going to be keen on understanding as they roll these out and see these changes happen in the environment. And as I say, also for users and businesses who are using the Viva suite, there's a lot of capabilities here that will help drive that adoption journey and that impact journey for you as well. So the good news is that Copilot is now available far more broadly. So for a long time, you needed to have only the enterprise SKUs, E3 and E5, to be able to bring Copilot into your organization. That's been evolving over time, and Microsoft have now really broadened that availability of the product across tenants. So we now are able to add Copilot on as an add-on license if you've got any of these licenses within your tenant. So if you've got users who are only on SharePoint Plan 1 and 2 because they're your intranet users, but they're still updating content in SharePoint and they want to be able to leverage Copilot, they can do that by adding Copilot on as an add-on license. Likewise, for things like Teams and for Outlook and Exchange, if you've got users with limited licensing availability for those products, they can still get benefit from a Copilot license, but specifically within those products. So obviously, if the user doesn't have licenses for everything else within the suite, they won't be able to take advantage of Copilot in those products. But if you do have that subset, particularly useful for frontline workers to be able to use these benefits, you've now got far broader reach of Copilot licensing, which is excellent. So we now go down the Viva sort of journey here that we've got add-ons for. So thankfully, we've now got a lot more reporting. So a lot of questions that we are asked by businesses around Copilot is who's using it? What are they using it for? How do I know that my license is being used for the greater good? And people are actually using this tool that we've chosen to invest in. So thankfully now we have the broader availability of the Viva Insights Copilot for Microsoft 365 dashboard, which is quite a mouthful to say. But you are now able to use that dashboard if you just have a Copilot license. Previously, you needed to have one of the premium licenses for the Viva Suite, so either the Suite license or the Communications and Communities license. You can now use that dashboard if you only have a Copilot license attached to you alongside your standard Microsoft 365 license. So now within Viva Insights, which everyone has available to through the Teams app, you can now access this new Microsoft 365 Copilot dashboard, or rather more people can now access it. So you can get high-level information around how Copilot is being used in the organization. So particularly useful for team leads, they can see what sort of impact Copilot is having within their teams. And now you also get that data across this piece, and you can have far better access to the information that is being collected about that without necessarily having to have additional licenses on top of your Copilot license. So as long as you've got over 100 licenses within the tenant for Copilot, this dashboard will now light up. Or if you do have the Viva Premium licenses, that will still become available to you with that Viva Suite license from 10 licenses and above in your tenant. Staying on the reporting theme, we now have some more information on those reports as well. So we've now got access to new sort of trailing 6-month statistics and trend lines for Copilot adoption in the reports that are available through that Viva Insights dashboard. So you can now see how many users are active with the tool versus the number of licensed users that you have to make sure that you've got that good uptick. But you can see how active they are, and you can see what percentage of Copilot is within your organization versus how much you've got. So you can start to see those productivity gains and understand how that tool is being used. Taking that one step further, we also now have some further dashboards that are as part of the Viva Suite or the Communities and Communications licensing SKU, where we now have Power BI-driven dashboards, which are in addition to the other sort of deep dive analyst dashboards that you get access to through Viva Insights as a premium user. So alongside things like remote working impact and sort of meeting impact, meeting effectiveness, you now have access to dashboards for both Copilot adoption and what I'll show you in just a moment for Copilot impact. So now you can have greater insight on top of the dashboard that you have available in Viva Insights. You have more information again through that 6-month trend line. So you can look back and see how the usage of Copilot is growing within your organization, how many licensed users that you have, and sort of the impact that that's beginning to have in terms of adoption. How have we got licenses that are assigned out in the field that aren't being used and we may need to revisit? To understand how the licenses that are being used, we can now see that impact dashboard. So this is the second Power BI enabled dashboard that you get access to. Again, this is through the Viva Suite SKU and other sort of advanced insights SKUs. But you're now able to see the types of actions that are being used within Copilot. So down to the product level, you can understand whether people are using Copilot in Word or PowerPoint or Excel, whether they're using the chat interface and how they're actually using that. So are we commonly seeing people do meeting transcriptions? Are we commonly seeing people do meeting recaps, which is a really popular use case, and they're potentially not using the Word features to be able to generate content as much? That allows you to target your adoption journey a little bit more and target the education that you're giving end users to increase that adoption. And again, further on that tool, in terms of that user adoption path, we now have the ability to turn on the Copilot deployment kit in Viva Amplify. So Viva Amplify is effectively an internal marketing tool, allowing you to run communication campaigns across your business. And you can use your existing things like SharePoint Intranet, Teams announcements, things like Outlook email to drive home that message for the adoption of Copilot. So this pack comes complete with pre-canned materials to help you on that adoption journey. So you get things like emails and news articles that you can help to get out within the organization to help boost the profile of Copilot across the business and get more guidance on that Copilot journey. So you're able to reuse this material that Microsoft has built in, deploy that within Viva Amplify within your tenant, and begin to roll that content out. Again, staying on the theme of adoption, we now also have an adoption community template available in Viva Engage. So a common practice that we always encourage is to use Viva Engage to help drive that adoption of Copilot in your organization. Users are able to ask questions, share popular prompts, be able to share experiences of how they've been able to use the tool. Now, Microsoft have provided the adoption community template to roll out within your Viva Engage estate so that people have got that central location to do that. And it actually has pre-canned content that you can use, like conversation starters, to be able to really drive that approach. And if you already have a Viva Engage adoption community in Engage, you can actually attach this new functionality to that existing community, so you don't have any duplication and sort of dilute the direction that you're using to improve Copilot adoption. And a part of the learning journey associated with Copilot for M365, we now have an academy in Viva Learning. So Microsoft introduced academies a short while ago, where you're able to create lists of content and create landing pages of specific topics and areas of interest from Viva Learning materials. There is now a Copilot specific academy that can be turned on within Viva Learning that gives users access to the kinds of materials that they would need to improve their knowledge of Copilot and their usage, including an integration with Copilot Labs, which will be discussed in the user-facing part of the session a little bit later on. And now moving outside of the Viva Suite, as we've got a lot of products within there, we are now looking further into integrations with the other Copilots. A lot of feedback that we get is, how many Copilots are there? You know, there's a Copilot for this, a Copilot for that. And we're now starting to see more integrations between those products, which is incredibly useful. So Copilot for Sales, which is talking back to Dynamics 365 to understand customer profiles, customer connections, customer interactions, we can bring forward that intelligence into Teams meetings through Copilot. So by enabling the plugin, allowing Copilot for M365 to talk to Copilot for Sales, now when users are in meetings with customers and they need more information that's perhaps held within Dynamics 365, they can ask Copilot live within that meeting session, as well as being able to capture action items and give an update of where we are in the call so far. We can also query Copilot for Sales and ask information about when was the last time we contacted this customer, how many employees do they have, what other information do we have saved on that record within Dynamics 365. So we can surface that data within those chats to further supercharge and make life a lot easier for users in that sales practice. And finally, on the admin capability, SharePoint Advanced Management, which is an add-on SKU that sits on top of your SharePoint estate, gives you a variety of tools for sort of the advanced usage of SharePoint. And now we're getting more Copilot adjacent tools added into that license as well. So if you have Copilot, if you have SharePoint Advanced Management rolled out within the tenant, you can now start to leverage some more of the tools that are available through SharePoint Advanced Management. So having access to things like organizing the data within the tenant, being able to address risks around oversharing and perhaps understanding more about what content people have got access to shape those Copilot responses, we can now use things like the data access governance reports to get on top of that. We can understand where we've got sites that are shared very broadly within the organization that perhaps shouldn't be. We can understand where we've got links for share all and things like that that are available that we may want to go and curate and drill down on so that we can make sure that our content is safe and secure. We can understand where we've got labeling going on within the tenant so that we can further the adoption journey of things like data loss prevention and sensitivity labels to make sure all of our content is categorized in the correct way so that we're not inadvertently sharing content broader than we should do when people are asking questions of Copilot and it's using that SharePoint data to provide the answers to that. So it helps the admin and the SharePoint tenant owner to be able to drill down and press down on oversharing within the tenant And you can also make sure that you're governing things in a more stronger way as well. For example, with site access reviews and site ownership reviews. So you can actually give that job to your site owners across the enterprise, ask them to see whether or not their SharePoint site is still necessary, so that we can start to clear out data that we no longer need within the business, so that we've got intelligent, useful information for Copilot to be grounded in within the organization. And that is it for the admin and management capabilities for now. So I will hand over to Caitlin and Kellen to discuss the end user side.
Great. Thank you so very much, Lee. A ton of really nice information there. Really great to see how far forward Copilot has gone in terms of those admin capabilities. So thank you very much for that. As Lee mentioned, we're now going to talk about some of the end user capabilities. As we saw at the beginning of the program, we have a ton of updates from the past month or two. We're not going to be able to cover all of those in depth, so we're just going to highlight a few that are going to be incredibly valuable for your organization. The first thing that we're going to talk about is Copilot's integration into SharePoint. So as Copilot functionality expands across the M365 ecosystem, we're really excited about SharePoint. This is designed explicitly to help you write engaging, high-quality content in a much easier way. And while writing or adjusting content is really great on its own, I encourage you to consider it sort of a cog in a greater scenario. So one of the reasons organizations sometimes struggle with SharePoint is poor user adoption. So either folks can't find the content that they need, or maybe it's not super engaging. And this is where Copilot can come in and help you. So if you're working in communications and drafting loads of SharePoint content, consider leveraging Copilot for some of these posts and then see how they perform through SharePoint's built-in analytics. And then on the flip side, if you are responsible for your department SharePoint site on top of everything else you have to do in your day, you can call upon your AI assistant to help you draft that content and speed up the process. So this way, you can ensure that the content is relevant and up to date without spending hours or losing focus time for your impactful work. And like other rewriting or revising functionality within Copilot, you will have a chance to review the output before replacing the original content, just to make sure that it does align with your goals. So very excited about SharePoint, started rolling out in July. If you're a frequent SharePoint user, I encourage you to go check that out. And now, of course, we get to move on to everyone's favorite application, Excel. So Excel has been on quite the journey since its preview was launched in November of 2023. And your feedback has been heard loud and clear, and some critical updates have been made this summer that should make it much easier to leverage Copilot in Excel. So the first thing we're doing is saying goodbye to the data table. We know from experience that not all information in Excel is in an explicit data table. So now Copilot recognizes what looks like a data table. It will need a row of headers to help discern the columns, but doesn't actually need to be, carefully considered in that data table experience, sort of taking out one little layer there for you. And then related to the update on the data table, we can now leverage Copilot sort of regardless of where we are in the workbook. So whatever cell we're clicked on, it will reason what data is nearby and what information to use to generate a response. It will even tell you within the prompting pane the exact cells that it believes you are referring to. So you can always check and then cross-reference if there's loads of data on a sheet, or if you've switched to a new sheet, but then left your sort of chosen cell behind there. And then related to that prompting pane, Copilot in Excel has turned a bit more conversational. So you can ask questions or request instructions, and Copilot will help you with that. Far beyond some of the original functionality where you could quickly insert a formula or a column based on a formula and review that, you can now really have a conversation to get you exactly where you need to go. We're going to stay in Excel for a little bit. Excel is giving users a chance now to review suggestions or edits prior to applying them. We've kind of seen that a little bit when adding those formula columns. So you would hover over the insert button showcased on what the column might look like. But now this is applying to requests or changes like conditional formatting. So again, it's kind of putting control in the user's hands and giving space to adjust and continue that conversation with Copilot if that wasn't exactly what you wanted. So again, continuing that through, some of this functionality has started rolling out in July. So again, do encourage you to go check that out on sheets and workbooks where you might not have a data table necessarily, but you have a lot of information, or where you may want to have a little bit more of a conversation and apply maybe some of that more complex formatting. I told you we were talking about Excel. And when it comes to conditional formatting, we are getting better at that. So previously, Copilot really wanted to stick to columns, and now we're seeing better formatting across rows where there are multiple inputs. For example, in this screenshot, right, telling Copilot to highlight all the rows where there are conditions across multiple columns. We see this a lot, trying to understand vast quantities of information, and then being able to apply those highlights very quickly can be incredibly helpful. And then as a little helpful hint, using quotations or asterisks or even the sort of individual, apostrophe note can help with understanding where you are trying to find information. So sometimes when we are talking to Copilot, and of course we have the sense of saying, I know exactly what this column is, we can sometimes drop those quotations, but actually that will help Copilot zero in on the conditions and the column that you're in, especially when it's not in a data table. So if your response is being impacted or you're struggling, I encourage you to use those sort of denotation marks to help Copilot zero in on exactly the conditions or the columns that you are looking to work through. And finally, our final Excel update. I told you it was everyone's favorite. So previously, when we wanted simpler calculations like sums, you would get sums across the entire data table. You would get an entire column dedicated to that formula. But now we can focus those formulas to specific columns and then put that data in one cell. Now, for many Excel super users, this may seem like something that is quite easy to do because the formulas, the keystrokes are a bit of muscle memory. But think about those users who are not super upskilled in Excel. This can be a real game changer. So these natural language conversations can enable users to gather those critical insights without spending so much time trying to then research or apply the right formulas. So it seems like kind of a simple update, something that many people say, well, I already know how to do that in Excel. But again, thinking of your broader audience, incredibly impactful ways to be able to use tools across the M365 ecosystem more impactfully. I've got one more update for you before I hand it over to Kellen, and that is talking about the Copilot Lab. So we love the Copilot Lab. You can go and check out all different types of prompts based on task, based on application, based on the type of work that you're doing, the type of department you might be in. But there's a new feature where you'll be able to directly try it in an application. So previously, we've had to go and copy and paste the suggested prompt from Copilot Lab, personalize it, bring it into the app sort of separately, but now the Copilot Lab is increasing its functionality to be able to directly try it in the applications in which that will work. So if you haven't visited the lab recently, I highly encourage it. Those updates are coming all the time, and there's even more coming down the pipeline for it. And with those updates on Excel and SharePoint and the Copilot Lab, I'm going to pass it over to my colleague, Kellen.
Thanks, Caitlin. I really appreciate those updates in M365, and I'm excited to share some more with you, as well as some breaking news that we just found out about 30 minutes ago. So yeah, one of the features that I was most excited about was the ability to, with Copilot, draft and organize my emails more efficiently and effectively. Copilot can help you write responses as well as sort your emails using very simple prompts. It works by accessing Copilot either in the top right ribbon of Outlook or just to the left of your minimize button. You can ask Copilot to draft an email using that chat window. Yeah, Copilot can detect which email you are currently in or reading. So you can ask it to help you write your response by saying something along the lines of, reply to this email confirming the following X, Y, and Z. Copilot will generate a draft in the compose window, and then you can also ask Copilot to help you organize your email by using a prompt such as move all my emails from said email such as sales@contoso.com into my sales folder. Both features were launched in July, so they are fully functional as of today. And then another common use for Copilot is Copilot in PowerPoint. This chat is a game changer and allows you to ask questions and get answers from Microsoft Graph, Bing, all within the same app. So you don't have to switch from the web to PowerPoint. It streamlines presentation creation and saves you the creative cognitive lift. So for example, suppose you're working on a PowerPoint slide and you require some facts or figures from the web to support your argument. You don't have to switch. It goes ahead and pulls all that information from the web directly. Yeah, you can ask it anything from company statistics to trivia, and it will provide you with the best answer that it can find, along with the sources, which I think is one of the most important parts, so that you can find exactly where the information is coming from. And you can verify that those sources are valid. So the exciting breaking news that I can share with you is a fantastic feature of image generation that Copilot will be able to do in September. It will enable you to generate AI images or access stock photos for PowerPoint and Word very easily. Users can simply use a prompt in Copilot and Designer, and it will create and insert the ideal image into your slides or documents. Whether you need an AI generated image or, a claymation chair, for example, or a stock photo of an astronaut in space, Copilot and Designer in PowerPoint can help you insert that directly into the presentation that you are working on. You can just simply prompt Copilot and Designer, and it will create that image for you. I tried this out a little bit earlier. It's a little rough around the edges, so it will be fully rolled out in September. And then as a PowerPoint user, you can also now leverage Copilot to create presentations from various file types, including PDF and encrypted Word documents. This feature, which was also launched in June, allows you to enrich your presentations with more sources of information from Word and PowerPoint files that you already have access to. Moreover, Copilot enhances the quality and relevance of those presentations by providing you with improved designs for different types of slides. It can create title sections, content slides, comprehensive structures with agendas, sections, conclusion slides, smooth transitions, and animations throughout the presentation. In addition to all of these capabilities, you can also ask Copilot to include speaker notes for your slides to assist you in your presentations. It's not an exact science, but it definitely helps you get started. And then lastly, Copilot in Microsoft Loop Pages offers a flexible and efficient way to organize work and foster team collaboration. From both blank canvases to structured documents, Copilot helps you streamline the entire process across a group of users, catering to various needs such as project plans and feedback sessions. I apologize if there's any feedback. There's construction outside my window. Also, Loop Pages are flexible canvases that help you organize and share your work with your team. You can use Copilot in Loop to go from a blank page to a structured document that's ready for team collaboration ASAP. You can start from scratch or also select an existing template, and Copilot can easily create that for you that suits your needs and helps you create project plans, feedback sessions, or tables to organize that information. So now I wanted to go over some other features in Copilot that have recently been rolled out or are on our horizon. We like to call it our Copilot roadmap. So these updates are somewhat new within the last month. A couple of highlights include the continuing relationship between Copilot and Viva. For example, Viva Pulse and Viva Learning, which are great for gaining insights on people in your organization or upskilling in your free time. The functionality in Copilot is always improving and takes into account feedback from users. The more that you use it and provide feedback, the more that it learns about you and the ways that you work, and the better it is able to help you. Also, in Microsoft Word, Copilot can now pull information from your emails, chats, and the web while you're drafting, which is quite the time-saving tool, as well as the ability to ask Copilot to customize its responses with personalization profiles. It's a great way to incorporate your own voice into your Word drafts. And then I will go ahead and pass it over to Caitlin to cover the rest of our roadmap.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Kellen. We're not going to go over this whole roadmap in, complete detail, because as you're about to see, there are tons and tons of things that have changed within the last month. So important just to note that as Copilot is evolving, right, we need to keep an eye on the public roadmap, because they will give us dates and they will give us more details and insight into when we can expect the preview and the production version of these updates. A couple of things that I do want to point out on here, we'll see several references to Excel. So again, continuing with hearing your feedback and understanding where you are working and where your needs are, Microsoft is listening and encouraging those updates. We see some of the other things here, these changes, things that are considered launched. We covered a lot of these changes today, but there are so many more. Again, I encourage you to visit the public roadmap. And then when it comes to other things that are happening within this last month, these are more changes. So considering rolling out some of that formula, conditional formatting within Excel, important to know that rolling out might be something that's coming tomorrow to you, might be something that's coming in a week to you. And if you are seeing items that have considered launched or actively rolling out and you're not seeing them, we do encourage you to use the browser version of the application to see if it's come there first, because that is the way that we will start to see those updates. They come through the browser and then filter in through our desktop application. So be sure to keep that in mind as you're reading some of these. And then again, to consider some of the changes that have happened within the last month, lots more in development. Lee talked a little bit about sort of those Viva modules. We saw a little bit about where Viva's kind of coming into play from what Kellen just showed. And of course, there are more. So more things on Viva Pulse, more on Viva Goals. We're going to see continued, collaboration there, because really those two experiences work so much better together when we can bring in Viva and Copilot. Lots of things to come through here, lots in development. So please do visit the Copilot roadmap for more information. And this is a little sneak preview too of what we might be talking about next month as well, what has been launched between now and the end of September. But with that, I do want to thank you everyone for your participation today. If you have some feedback, we've got a QR code on the screen. It'll help us tailor and improve future events just to make sure that we are meeting your needs. So feel free to pop up that phone, scan that QR code, and fill out that short survey. It'll only take a minute or two of your time, but it will help us make a big difference and really make this as impactful for you as we can. We want to make sure that you're getting the information you need to best leverage Copilot and really take it to the next level. I'm going to leave this QR code up for a second while everyone finds their cell phones, and go ahead and open the floor to see if folks have questions. I will note that I do see a question in the chat about the slides. Yes, please do reach out directly if you're someone who has worked with any of us on the call here today, whether myself, Lee, Kellen, or Alex. Please do feel free to reach out directly to us. If you are new to us, we can drop in the Valorem email. which will be available. So you can reach out and we can make sure that we're routing all of your responses to the right individuals.
And we definitely understand that you might not have questions right now because it's kind of been overwhelming with number of updates that we ran through in the last 45 minutes. Looks like a 100-meter dash, but regardless, we are planning to introduce for our future monthly calls opportunity for you to ask questions before the call, so that we can come prepared and try to provide as much information as possible. If you don't have any questions right now, any comments, suggestions, feedback, maybe something that you saw in Copilot that kind of brings your attention or you want to discuss, please share with us. We'll be on a call for another 5 minutes to see if anyone comes up with any questions. But if not, we really appreciate your attendance. We're hoping to see you, maybe your friends in the future, on a future call. So please share information about this initiative that we're doing for monthly calls. And we're hoping to see you end of September.
Yes, absolutely. We've got this. We are sharing through the power of PowerPoint Live. So all of these links are clickable for you. Whether you're looking to dive further into your Copilot journey as well, we do have a free Copilot consult available, opportunity to register for more upcoming webinars. We do have a Compass framework when it comes to Copilot. We've delivered a lot of projects for organizations, big and small, national and global. So we can definitely talk a little bit more in depth into your needs as well. And if you love a bit of LinkedIn collecting, all of our LinkedIn profiles are there as well. So you've got to catch them all, trying to get those 10,000 connections. So feel free to click on any one of those, connect with us there as well.
Okay, I think we can close out this first call and have a great rest of the day, and we'll see you in September. Thank you.
everyone.
Bye.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you so much.